Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another session with the Empire Empress. And today we're going to be talking about bullying, the impact it has on us long term as adults, and the impact it's having on our children, right? So, this is another very sensitive topic, especially to me. I was a result of bullying. The way people define bullying, they have different terminologies for it. But for me, anything that makes me uncomfortable, other people trying to do things to intimidate me or to intimidate a child, it's defined as bullying, right? So there are 4 different types of bullying, and I'm not sure people are aware of that. You have physical bullying, you have verbal bullying, you have cyber bullying, and you have social bullying, right? So I can only speak about the physical and the verbal bullying. Now it's deeper than that. You know, a lot of people and their children have experienced bullying. It's to the point where you have people who are having suicidal thoughts. The actions of other children have changed them forever, have caused them to have negative thoughts, have caused them not to want to go to school and things like that. So this video, I'm going to briefly explain the impacts of bullying and the importance of discussing it with your children. The importance of defining what it is and letting your child know that if anyone makes them uncomfortable in any way, they need to voice their opinions. They should be able to be comfortable to come to you and explain that the situation is happening. As parents, we can be aggressive and arrogant when we respond to our children about this. So we want to say to them, oh, call them back a name or do something to them. Okay, so you want to make sure you're taking measures once your child has been bullied. You are actually meeting with school officials and you're getting your child into therapy. The long-term effects of bullying in adolescence is something that I've studied quite vast over the last 2 years, and it can cause a lot of social deficit, a lot of social disorders. So I'll break it down plain and simple. Your child can become depressed, your child can become reserved, your child can be withdrawn from society, your child can have adverse effects in their sexuality, meaning they start dating females or they start dating males or people of the same sex based on whatever they experience with the bullying. They're gonna date who they're now comfortable with. All right, so they can become comfortable with a specific sex because of the bad experience that they have had. So as parents, we want to make sure that we take our emotions out of it and make sure that we're actually getting therapy and help for a child once they have experienced bullying so that they do not have these long-term effects. They don't feel like it's not safe for them to go to school anymore. They don't feel like they're unsafe in a school environment. They don't trust people and they don't want to have friends. And so asking that child to push a negative with a negative, or if somebody hit you, hit them back, or if they push you, push them back, or get involved, get a friend to help you. It's obviously the negative way of going about it, right? This is going to be a never-ending cycle, and you have gangs and those kind of things formed in the schools. So we want to make sure that as parents, we're taking the correct protocols to not cause harm to the bullier, but to protect our children. That's our goal. All right? Kids who usually bully other children, I want you guys to understand that there are psychological effects and psychological things happening with that child. That child may be experiencing some emotional disturbance at home. They might have had a traumatic background. And so the way they do these things, they pick on other children to get attention, or they pick on other children to feel like they're in authority. They're the one who are in control. And it's a total attention. It's a behavior that their trauma and their lifestyle or whatever experiences they're having at home, they're displaying these behaviors out there. So that child who is the bullier, that's something that is way bigger than us, and that person is also going to need help. So if you want to be productive, especially when it comes to bullying, you want to make sure you're supporting both parties with this. And as parents, we can get ignorant and we can go to the schools and we can address the other children. We can address their parents. And that is not helpful. So we want to make sure that whatever measures we're taking, they're going to be helpful measures. I experienced bullying a great deal in high school. I remember I was being called a pig. I was being called massive B, bigger, all these things. The worst ridiculous names you could think of. And it so happens that the group of guys who bullied me because I was just simply overweight. I hated school. Yes, I said it. I hated school because of that. Going to school was like going to a horror house. I sacrificed my lunch money a lot of days in order not to be bullied. And I felt unsafe. Now, I could not go to my parents and say I did not want to go to school. Of course, that's not acceptable. So what I did was I engaged in other activities to help me redirect my mind. And the activities that I got involved in was boys. I got curious. I wanted something that was going to make me happy. And so I started to flirt around, talk to different guys to make me feel positive. And that balanced out the negativity and the hurt and pain I was feeling. I couldn't walk up the staircase every day. There were guys behind me making sounds like there was an earthquake coming when I was walking up the stairs. The names were ridiculous. And it took a really good friend who always reminded me about my beauty, my smile, the talents that I had. And she told me, she said, why don't you just focus on those talents? Focus on the dancing. And I actually joined the dance club in school. I was very depressed. And because of that depression, I actually reacted. I retaliated. I put my parents through a lot. I would do anything to gain that necessary attention because I didn't want to go to school. I ran away from home hoping that I would never have to come back and go to school. I wouldn't have to face that kind of life anymore. I caused a lot of pain and trauma, but my parents didn't understand what was going on. I actually had a friend who attempted suicide because of the fact that they were calling her Big Red and Massive B. And it's just a really painful situation. That's something that nobody has to live with. So if your child is saying to you that they're experiencing these things, you have options as parents. You can move them from that school, try another institution, meet with school officials but do not take it lightly, because you don't want a situation to happen where you said, I should have done something, and if I only knew. And that's another reason we need to be actively engaged. You need to have these discussions with your children. I think sometimes as parents, we can be ignorant with talking about bullying. We can be ignorant about talking about sex. We can have this mindset that, they're too young. It's not relevant. Yeah, so as parents, it's important for us to be engaged and to have these conversations with our children, because I guarantee you that if we're not doing this, other people are going to be having the conversations with them, and what they're going to be saying, you're not going to be happy about. So remember to address these concerns. Remember to have a safety plan in place and talk to your child. Say, if these things are happening, this is what you need to do. If people say things to you, if they bully you, if they say derogatory things, if they push you, if they are on your Facebook, and we're going to talk about that. Facebook and social media, this is what you need to do. The first thing you need to do is to let your parents know, right? When it comes to Facebook and social media, it's extremely important that when you have given your child an electronic device, that you have a password that child is going to use. You need to know the password on that phone. You need to know the passcode to every social media if you are going to allow them to have that social media. So if we are not going to be actively involved, then it's strongly recommending that we do not give these things to our children. So we should be monitoring their Facebooks. We should be monitoring their Instagram. We should be monitoring their Twitters. We should be monitoring their Snapchats. And last but not least, we should be monitoring their cell phones. Okay? You should be going through, you should be keeping track of their data, should be keeping track of their phone calls. All right? It's extremely important, and extremely important that you also remind them the importance of communicating their feelings. So if they're feeling some type of way about something, don't take it for granted. Don't say, oh, that's grandpa. It's okay for grandpa to touch you on your butt, or it's okay for grandpa or this person to whisper in your ear or blow breath. Don't take what our children are saying lightly. If they're expressing to you that something makes them uncomfortable, you need to look into it and actively research it and be involved. If something feels uncomfortable and not right, it needs to be addressed. So I experienced the whole bullying, and long-term effects of that, it definitely damages your self-esteem in a major way. It damages your self-esteem, and because it damages your self-esteem, you are going to feel extremely low, think low about yourself. And the first person who comes along and say how beautiful or gorgeous you are and whatever they tell you that's positive, you're going to believe it. Even if they don't mean it, you're vulnerable to that person. You'll do anything they say. So now you find that your child may be turning to marijuana, maybe turning to drinking, maybe turning to sex, maybe turning to different ways they can get attention, same-sex attention or attention from the opposite sex, because the negative feelings that they have about their self, right? So their self-confidence is low, and they're going to find a way and an outlet for that. So please, if you're not the one listening to them, somebody is going to listen. Make sure you're actively involved. Address the bullying. It causes long-term damages that will change your child forever. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to be a parent. But if you're going to be a parent, be an active parent. Okay? We can't stop trauma from happening to other children, but we can stop trauma from happening to our children. We can't stop trauma from happening to children of other people. We can't change the way other people parent, but you can change the way you parent. You can be extremely and actively involved. Okay? And please involve your children in extracurricular activities that's going to teach them positive outlets, positive ways of dealing with emotions, positive ways of socializing. Make sure they're actively involved. Your child should not be on social media more than 4 hours daily, and that's still a lot. They should be involved in sports and extracurricular activities. They should be spending time with you, going to the library, going to the park. Remember, if you're not in a position to actively parent your child, somebody else will. And the outcomes are going to be extremely negative. So please make sure you are making it comfortable for your child to come to you and speak to you about these issues, right? Now, if the issues happened prior to you having them as a parent, or it's already through the gate, it happened, the best thing you can do is get that child counseling and support so they can move forward and have an active, positive life like I did, right? So the names that the wonderful people have called me throughout high school, it actually benefited me now, because I know the things they said back then were the meanest things, but now I'm out here advocating, I'm out here helping, I'm out here teaching others what to do when they're in situations like this, right? So it actually worked out to be positive, but I had to learn how to believe in myself. I had to trust my instincts and my feelings. And I had to recognize that these things that they were saying, they weren't true. Okay? Smart, beautiful, talented woman. And they have created issues. However, the pros and cons, the positive things about me have outweighed all the negative things. And so you also want to remind your child how important, what's positive about them, and what they should keep working on. All right. Thank you for tuning in to another session. Don't forget to subscribe, share this video with teenagers and loved ones, okay? And send positive messages out there. Have a good one.